like that's a different kind of stream, you know? I can't give that content out for free. Yeah. Yeah. That's for when our runway is really low and we're desperate, you know, a Hail Mary. Wonder how many viewers we had for that part.
Oh, I should have this up, shouldn't I? So I can see comments. I do have two screens. So might as well utilize. Okay. Where is the?
I lied. Maybe I will eat a little bit.
The whole dang thing here.
The food's good. I can't stop.
If the food's good, you gotta eat it.
Exactly. It's Impossible like fajita bowl from that meal service. It's good. Brown rice, black beans, corn. Yeah, fake meats. I try to like substitute some amount of like vegetarian meals every week, especially because Peter's such a heavy meat eater. Does not like a lot of vegetarian meals, so I'm like, this is kind of the only way I can do that.
Announcements. There's the stream. Now I'm gonna have to mute myself on mute this because things about to get wild up in here. Okay.
Wild.
Okay, I think I can.
Everyone's busy playing the alpha.
There we go. I think still wrong. There we go.
Oh, so we can't hear Michael.
Can you hear me though?
We're actually oppressing Michael.
Yes. I'm winning. I'm victorious. I can be heard.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Set to default to something else. Napanoon, welcome. I hope people can hear me now. And Naked Gamer, welcome. First time chatter.
It's gonna be cold in the water today.
Yep. We're going in the pool. Oh, is that what the first badge looks like? Oh, wow. A founding subscriber. I don't think I've ever seen that before, actually. Hey, Ali Cantina. Hey, Cans Corp. Hey, Da Vinci. Man, as soon as Cherry puts up the message, it's just a gazillion people arriving.
Hi, Michelle. Hi.
Grace, Mara. It's the danger. Welcome, everybody. James and Michelle. Oh my God, hi. Oh my goodness, a subscription.
Hell yeah.
Steph brought food and didn't share.
That's true.
That is true.
I'm eating a Impossible beef fajita bowl with brown rice, black beans, corn, and bell peppers.
Oh my God.
Pretty
Did you
good.
guys hear that?
What?
My stomach just gurgled so loud.
I should have brought some to share. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I'm pretty quiet. That does seem to be always.
Here, let me try and turn you up. Nope, you're already at 200%. I will turn up the volume. I'm going to turn Andrew down ever so slightly for balance. Wait, would that even matter? I will boost my desktop gain. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Say something again, Steph?
Hello.
Is that better? Sound balance wise? Can you guys hear me? Reverb, LOL. Okay, I'll move away. Okay. That's probably my bad. It's better. Okay, great. Thank you, Naked Gamer.
If you haven't seen Naked Gamer in Discord too, the branding is consistent. It's
Oh,
funny.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. I can't wait to check that
Just
out.
from the waist up, always no shirt.
I think there's a censor bar across their
Okay,
avatar.
even smarter.
Let's jump in. We're already a few minutes in. So
not dive in? Come on.
let's
It was right
dive
there.
into the cold waters, just like the Naked Gamer is so excited to do. So, oh, Lanuba. Oh, welcome. Wow, so many first-time chatters already. We haven't even gotten in any of the juice. Okay, so welcome back to DevStream. It's been 2 weeks since our last one. Last one was Ryan and myself. We were talking about a bunch of the stuff that happened during NextFest, of which there was a lot. So I know that was a bit of information overload. This is coming back to some of our previous style of DevStream, which is like some announcements and stuff like that, but then really trying to go deep under the hood in terms of like a major part of the game, a major part of how development works. As you can see, we have some familiar faces on the chat. Why don't we go through and just sort of reintroduce ourselves? I'm Michael. I'm the CEO for Treehouse, so I often think a little bit more on the marketing side of things nowadays. And Steph, why don't we go over to you?
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I think a lot of you, especially if you're in Discord, are familiar with me, but I'm the producer here at Treehouse, so I handle our roadmap and when we plan to deliver content. I get the playtests out to you. Sometimes I make late night hot fixes to fix your builds. That's me.
And then Andrew.
I'll go next. I'm Andrew. You'll know me in Discord as Waterproof Jedi. I'm attempting to address and answer as many visual and movement and environmental bugs as possible. And I'm going to be talking about water today, which is one of my many white whales. So yeah, I'm excited to talk to y'all about it.
This is a topic that we've been planning for forever because the water's been getting so much love and positive response for people for so long. And I feel like, obviously it's a huge amount of what you see in the world. But, it's actually a pretty complicated piece of work. A lot of things go into it. So having Andrew come and actually talk about it seems like a really fun deep dive. Also, thank you, Bose Ollie, for the follow. So let's go ahead and jump in. So there are a few different things that are sort of just latest news. One of which is we just had a new patch go live yesterday. Is that right, Sam? Yesterday at noon?
Yes, yesterday
Today's Thursday,
at noon.
right? Okay.
You're like, what day is it?
Yeah,
What
a
year
little
is it?
bit though. Here, I'll follow you on Miro, and then let's steer people through some of the stuff that's just gone live to people on the playtest.
Perfect. I think hopefully it'll show up okay on the stream. It might be cropped because of the bull scene. So just to recap a little bit too, in case anybody wasn't here for some of the previous dev streams or even didn't play the last patch. Our previous patch had actually like a lot of really cool first moments. So we had our first time actually testing the Greatwood. So the first zone of that in a very prototype state. I was trying to find actually some people had some really funny screenshots of the enemies all A-posed and all gray and scary and slidey, which I think people seem to really enjoy. But they'll be a little cooler this round. Because we got our Zone 1 of the Greatwood into testing for the first time, long awaited, which is really exciting. We added also some really long time requested features and quality of life stuff that people have been asking for, giving feedback for a long time. So we finally have a teleportation feature in the game. So you can now earn and build this teleporter and build it up in your different biomes to teleport between them. We added this big crab. I love this guy. I really hope we'll put a saddle on him or something someday. But people talked a lot about needing more hardshell resources, especially in the reef, and we thought a giant kaiju crab was a really cool way to execute that. So there's a lot of really cool changes, hopefully. So if you missed those, they're also still there, obviously, and improved. So definitely check out the latest playtest if you're excited about that content. If you did play in the last playtest, also, it is so important that you fill out the feedback survey. That would be really, really helpful to us. So if you haven't, a lot of people have filled it out, and thank you for doing that. But if you playtested last week and you did not fill out the survey, you are making me sad. So please fill out the survey because we would love to hear your feedback. It's really important and it's really critical to our dev process. So we really, really would value if you would fill that out. But some new things that just launched in the patch yesterday. And we have the full patch notes, so definitely check those out. They are posted in the Alpha Updates channel, and I think on our Twitter and other social media too. But we have a lot of really cool changes. So the long-awaited bird from the reef, the Elder Wind Spirit, actually has animations, finally. Andrew worked on those. They are very cool. He's really cool and unique and awesome feeling. This is my "Don't talk to me or my sons ever again" screenshot. But so yeah, he's fully animated now. Really awesome. Really exciting. Actually, there's a lot of stuff actually Andrew worked on in this little montage. Andrew actually also worked on getting the bow to have a drawstring and like notch back and notch the arrow in, and the arrows are all visualized, which is really awesome and I think makes the bow feel way cooler. So good job, Andrew. And so you'll see that if you play in the latest playtest. We have updated visuals. Our little beautiful Temp orb is gone. Long live the orb. But there's this new dope teleporter. So hopefully that'll feel much cooler and thematic. And hopefully because it's bigger, now you won't accidentally put it in places that you can teleport yourself into a wall. So hopefully that'll also help solve some bugs. The Hunters, which is the name of the faction in the Great Wood, are kind of really developing. They're much farther along than the first time you saw them, so they actually have textures. They're not just gray. They're still a little gray. They have animations and attacks, and they have been through some balance passes. So obviously we're still working on balance because, like we mentioned, the zone is really early. The whole biome is really early, so we're still looking for a lot of feedback. So keep that in mind. That's definitely, I think, not going to be a perfectly balanced experience, but hopefully a lot of really cool changes, easier to fight against them, and I think they just look really cool. So you'll see that. We also did a full art pass actually on the Great Woods Zone 1 too, so especially if you have opinions about the art or the theming or like the layout, we would love to hear that type of feedback because we're trying to really kind of get a feel for what the vibe of that biome is going to be. We added some long-awaited graphic settings. So many graphic settings, which is really, really cool. So hopefully you'll have a lot more control. There's still, I think, some kind of quirks with this too, so if you find bugs, let us know. But hopefully you'll have a lot more control over the performance of your game and the visuals of your game. We added also a new building kit variation. I think we talked last time in the building dev stream about how we were kind of making some big changes to the way that the building system worked in order to have the ability to launch more variations of the same kits, which is not something we could do in the old system. And so we finally have kind of followed through with that promise. We've been working on this kit for a long time. And so we now have the Thatch building variation for our square building kit. So you can earn this in the Embrace. It's actually a pretty early on variation, which is really fun. So hopefully you'll feel like you get a nice, juicy upgrade out of that makeshift living on the seat of your pants kind of vibe. But you can still build them. And as you can see in the screenshot, you can actually mix and match them too on the different walls. So if you still want some of that vibe, you're able to get that. So hopefully it's going to be really cool. But we'd love to hear your feedback on that. And that's kind of it. So I just wanted to give people a little bit of an overview of all the cool things. There's a lot more stuff, so I definitely recommend reading the patch notes. I think these are just like the flashiest things. We're always definitely working on trying to progress the content and finish the biome, and really deliver on our early access content, but we're also trying to make improvements and bug fixes and add in the quality of life stuff that you've been giving us so much valuable feedback on. So definitely, I hope you'll play test, and I hope you'll fill out our feedback surveys. That's it for me.
Can't wait to see what Da Vinci, who's in chat right now, is going to build.
Did you see his last build? It was crazy. So good.
If you guys haven't seen that in the Discord, they're absolutely incredible. Also, before I forget, thank you, Canic 1220, first time chatter, and someone who subscribed that I must have missed, Black Scream X. Thank you very much. So this is all live on the playtest environment right now. We're also going to be sending out some wave of invites to folks who have been waiting. So if you've been waiting to check it out, we would definitely love some more fresh feedback because, a lot of stuff's landing right now. let's get on to the other topics so we leave enough time for the actual like water part of this. So actually, it's funny that multiple people were chatting about this around early access date. So we had announced early access for August 5th. Sadly, I'm here to announce that we actually have to push that back. And people are already intuiting why. And it is because of some of the reality of other things that were announced during the Summer Games Fest. This is just sort of making games, honestly, is that there are just so many cool games coming out all the time. But in our position, we are kind of a small baby indie. And then you have Grounded 2, which is a beloved sequel, and not just a beloved sequel, but also one that is like a co-op game, multiplayer, and also it's made by Xbox and Obsidian, and you can't really get that much bigger in terms of just raw marketing dollars for them to throw around. It would not surprise me at all if their marketing budget was like as big as the amount of money that we spent making the game. Like that would not blow my mind at all. So yes, you guys have read it. I honestly, I'm not surprised that you guys are looking at this because I feel like survival crafting players in particular are like hyper aware of all the survival crafting games that are happening. But we just can't really go toe to toe with these super giant studios in terms of trying to, get out of their wake of just pure marketing dollars or attention. Also, super selfishly, we want to be playing Grounded too. But no, realistically, we have to try and give them wide berth and just avoid getting stepped on when it comes to just people firing the marketing cannons. Well, I mean, I appreciate all of you guys with the support. I really appreciate you guys saying all that and you guys supporting. I think we've been really lucky to have so many people who are really excited to play the game and when it comes out. And we got a little bit of a preview of this during Dune's launch because we had so many people who've been like playtesting us for so long who are like really amped to play the game where they're just like, oh my God, Next Fest is the same time as Dune. Like, I also have to play Dune. And it's like, we get it. That's just like part of being a content creator and also just being a fan. It's like kind of a good problem to have of so many dope games coming out, right? So it's just, something that we have to be thoughtful of. And unfortunately, we have the tools to actually react to that. We're not like so stuck against the wall that we have to still stick with our date. Just feels a little awkward to have the date come out and then immediately be like, oh no. So we do have a fresh date though that we want to share with you guys, which is September 16th. This is going out to you guys first. Probably on Monday is when we're going to update a bunch of our video assets, update our Steam store page, but put it down in your calendars. Hopefully no one else is going to land right in this zone. September 16th is the new date that we're targeting for early access. There are actually a bunch of good things that come with it, honestly. It gives us a lot more time to bug fix and land a bunch of content that was going to be pretty tight. So going to have a lot of cool new stuff and maybe gives us more time to also keep play testing before we have to really hunker down and just focus on the early access version. So there's actually a lot of plus side outside of the awkwardness and the morale damage of being like, dang it, we just said August 5th.
I know, that was so unlucky. We had
oh,
been
God.
planning it for so long. We're like, oh, it's going to be so awesome to announce the date.
Like
Unlucky.
I feel like Grounded 2 in particular is a real well-kept secret. So that was a real surprise. Also, like, kind of props to them to come out and then immediately be like, it's a real thing coming out real soon. It's very impressive. But so now September 16th is where we're headed. With that, major, errant lore finder, first time chatter, welcome. Considering other pushbacks, seen this one's pretty tame. I know we
try.
we're very eager for the game to come out. We've also been sort of planning toward this early access moment for a good chunk of time. Also, just realistically, as like a small independent studio, we can't push back forever. We don't have the resources to keep delaying it. So I'm hoping it will feel small. For us, it does feel like, oh, we're replanning all these things. Poor Steph, more than anyone else, has to bear the weight. Oh, Cans Corp. Sorry, when I was talking about Secret, I meant when it was announced at the Summer Games Fest. We were like, oh crud, that wasn't on our survival crafting war map.
Yeah, typically it is kind of funny. Like when you're in like the industry, you often hear about release dates and some other potential things like way earlier than players ever do. Like there's always some connection you have that like happens to say something, or some inkling that you have. So it was pretty like I think Michael said, we were all really impressed, honestly, even if sad, because like, it's really hard to keep a big secret like that for especially a big, really cool sequel.
We were caught with our pants down. We were in fact all naked gamers.
Wait, we're wearing pants? I thought we don't have to wear pants if we work from home.
System Relic, thank you so much for the sub. And Pelia Piffle, I wonder what game you played previously. What can we do to help with you guys with this time leading up to early access? That's a great question, and also just a very kind question to ask. A lot of it is just still playtesting, because right now, this zone right now, with what Steph was just sharing about, is us being like, cool, like we're finally getting to crack into Biome 3. Here's all these other systems we're still overhauling. A dedicated server testing picking up. Pretty soon, gonna have stuff like in-game chat functioning. We need eyeballs. We need help testing that. And then when we get closer to that window, it'll be the same thing as Next Fest. It'll be getting the word out because it was so crazy helpful during Next Fest. And we talked about that a bunch in that last Twitch stream about actually how huge a difference it made to actually find all of your guys' friends and your guys' communities. And there really was kind of a groundswell moment where we're like, oh my God, how are these people finding this game? Like, holy crap, like how many people watched this video? How many people downloaded the demo today? That's insane. And really made a huge difference. So thank you guys for that. We will 100% be knocking on your door again as we get closer to these moments. And we'll have contests and stuff like that too. So I've delayed us long enough. Let's switch over to talking about the core sort of exciting topic of the day, which is Andrew walking us through like what the heck the water is in the game, how it works under the hood a little bit, and how he thinks about building it. So yeah, Andrew, let me throw it over to you, and I'm gonna click on you and Miro as well.
Wonderful. What's up, everybody? It's been a while. Last time I was here, I think we were talking about sea creatures and various other critters. So I guess now we'll get into where they dwell, I suppose. So I don't know. Do you want me to share, or do you want to just go through? I can kind of point you to where to go.
I can screen share with you. If you keep it up in the pretty zoomed in, and in the top 2/3 of your screen is when it'll be above our heads. Yeah, there you go.
Is this is good?
Yeah.
Let's see what's happening. All right, cool. So yeah, water. It's everywhere, but it's very, very hard to make for the most part. Being a water game, we had to think pretty long and hard on what exactly we wanted to do, how we wanted it to feel, all that sort of stuff. So the main goals, my first and biggest goal for the water and Voyagers was to make something the players would actually want to interact with and swim through. I think a lot of times games that aren't water centric tend to make water at least look good, but not necessarily something players are going to instinctually want to go try to interact with. And we wanted to kind of do the opposite of that. So the second goal was to ensure that we were at least in the same ballpark as some of our other, I wouldn't even say competitors, just peers, games that other players have interacted with water. With as much as they're going to be in the water in our game, we need to make sure that we're in the vicinity of other games that have done something similar. So I looked at a bunch of water that I thought had good water from a lot of good games. So Sea of Thieves is kind of the obvious first choice. Their water is beautiful. They spent a lot of time, and a lot of genius people were working on it to make it look the way it does. obviously, we don't have the same manpower, woman power in general as they do, but wanted to get kind of close. So I looked a lot at how they were doing their water. They were incredibly generous in putting up GDC talks about how they did things, and that helped a lot. Um, they both. The other thing we need to consider is the fact that we need to look good above the water and below the water because we got to swim in the water. Kind of weird if we were an ocean world, you couldn't swim in the water. So we also kind of needed some reference for what things looked like underwater with a lot of these games. Another one that I looked at a lot was Horizon. Obviously, their water is gorgeous. Um, they are everything I could ever want as far as water goes, both above and below. Another one, Subnautica, they did an amazing job making the ocean feel vast while still feeling inviting in certain situations and terrifying in other situations, which is another, I think, kind of subtle goal that we have. We want the water to feel inviting enough for players who want to be in it, but also challenging enough for players to constantly be on their toes and be ready for whatever's around the corner. And then for me, the most important thing is real life. We all know what it feels like to be around the ocean. We know what it smells like, feels like, and sometimes even tastes like when you get a little bit of sea water in your mouth. So being out there and actually looking at what it feels like and looks like in the real world is really important. So that when we're running around the world, does this even get close to that? So that was a nice bellwether for me in terms of bars that I was trying to set. So reference is huge. So those were kind of the big reference points for me in terms of where I wanted to start. Second thing was looking at the big challenges. Water is hard. It has always been hard. It is just a very technically challenging thing to pull off. It's also quite expensive. It covers the entire world. You need a big texture that can span the entire world. You got to find a clever way to make sure that texture isn't the most expensive thing to ever exist in a game. The other biggest, I think the largest challenge of all was that I am just one simple, lonely man in terms of the monumental task of creating water. So a lot of it was, can we pull this off with limited resources and still have it hit some of these bars? You know, as an open world ocean game, Voyagers really relies on visually striking water to stand out. Additionally, the experience needs to be immersive, allowing players to interact both above and below the water surface, like I mentioned. So with that in mind, I decided to break the water into two parts, above the water line and below the water line. And I chose the surface water first. I think it makes the strongest first impressions. The first thing players are going to see, it'll be on the cover of the box. So I wanted to make sure we had that down before we did anything else. Yeah, when I got started on it, I did a bunch of research, and I have to shout out Ghislaine. If you are a developer and are interested in learning anything tech art, that he's a genius. He's my favorite resource. Super sweet guy. Has an amazing Discord. 100% follow. He's just incredible. We would not have the water we have right now if he was not a person in the world. So for the surface of the water, we aimed for something both visually appealing and believable, while still allowing players to see through just enough beneath to get a sense of what's below them. And it's a balancing act because when the water was too clear, it looked a little bit unnatural for an ocean environment. But when we pushed it more for realism, it was impossible to see what was going on below players. So we had to kind of figure out exactly where the sweet spot was, which is I think where we have visually landed and experientially landed. And we have some stuff that we're working on right now to kind of add more clarity to enemies, because I know enemies have been a bit of a frustration. It's hard to see where they are. It's hard to know when they're attacking. And Ben is doing some really, really cool work right now to help make that a lot more fun and a lot more clear. I'm super excited about it. We have our surface. I want it to feel when you're right up close to it. I want it to feel inviting, like you want to go swim in this lagoon. and still hit that sense of when you're far away, because we have a big open world. We want to make sure that it feels believable, really from any perspective. Including in the deep water, where things can get a little bit more intense and feel a little more dangerous because there's a little bit less clarity. You don't know what quite's down there, and that's what we want, but we don't want it to be too frustrating. So I can actually share my screen and show a little bit about what the surface material looks like. I don't know how much time. I'm trying to go as quick as I
you're
can
doing great.
without stumbling over things.
Yeah, go.
So if I share my screen, will this work?
Yeah. I'll maneuver you
Okay.
for the camera to still
Guide
work.
me, Michael. Okay.
Oh. Watch stream. It's coming over here.
There we go. We're doing it now.
Woo.
Technology.
It's kind of cropped funny,
precipice.
Michael.
Oh wait, hang on.
Wonderful.
I can figure this out. There we go.
They can see that you're messaging me on Slack.
I can?
You just doxed me, kind of, but.
Oh.
So yeah. So we've got our water surface. We've got obviously little details on the surface. We've got a little bit of foam around the edges. This is also another little technical challenge of we've got to map all of the land in our world, and create a shoreline, and then map that in-world space to the material itself, so that we can get this. And we do have to update it when we do map changes. So we have a little pipeline to kind of help that could use improving, but it works to help map out where the shorelines are in the game, so that we can create this foam effect. Nothing would make me happier than having actual rolling waves, but that is a gigantic technical challenge on a open world scale. It's much easier if you're doing a more, I think, singular play space where you can actually do some more bespoke technical solutions for some of these things. But overall, we have this material. And within this material, we have these functions that all do different things. And within these functions, we have a bunch of spaghetti. Spaghetti makes sense if you spend a lot of time with it. But ultimately, this is the big one right here. This is a water flipbook. And what it essentially does is it takes a water simulation that we've created in Blender and mapped it to a texture that we can then play over a certain number of frames. And that's what creates the rippling water surface that you see here. So technically, all of these water details are a tiled texture. I'm just really good at making sure you can't see it. Or at least I hope I am. Maybe somebody out there can see it, but I'm at least happy with about here. You would normally see a lot of tiling, but this one texture is able to create all the detail we need across the entire ocean. This is a big, again, another shout out to Ghislaine. This is his technique for creating water details. What I really like about the way this works is I can art direct the way the ripples look in Blender very, very precisely, as opposed to using another solution, which we'd use a little bit, called Gerstner waves. We use that for big swelling waves, which maybe someday we will have for everybody, for maybe storms, who knows. But we have them very minimal right now because we're still working out some technical stuff with how we sail, how the player swims and bobs up and down. It presents, big rolling giant waves, presents another set of technical challenges, specifically with movement on the boat and the player, that we've taken some broad strokes and swings at, that we are close on, but we didn't want to put it out yet until we were absolutely confident that it wouldn't be miserable for you guys. So right now what we have is, again, these flipbook textures that allow us to have this really nice, believable, rolling kind of detail on the water surface. And then a bunch of this other stuff does a bunch of other things. We've got color. We've got our various colors here. This is a quality switch. I don't know, some of you may notice or have noticed on low at one point, the water got really milky. It's because I didn't do this, and I'm sorry. Now this is done, and it should look better on all settings. Yeah, so that's just this is mostly the color. We also have like the way the water when you get over certain objects here. Sorry, I'm navigating through here. When you sail over, you see how the water distorts as you look through it. That this is where we do all that calculation for refraction. Yeah, I think that's the surface. And I think we can move on to the second half of water, which is below the surface. So we can
If
go
anyone
back
in
to
chat has
the.
questions, Andrew
Oh yeah,
can
we can take a pause. We can pause on surf. If you have any specifically water surface questions, let me.
When are we gonna bring the cereal biome and bring back the milky, low quality water?
We have a bunch of Fruit Loops in there.
Yeah. The whole
Yeah.
world is just on the back of a giant cereal bowl,
my
you know?
God.
Yeah, nobody knew the entire time. Nera's just a Kellogg's box.
The most expensive April Fool's joke ever conceived. I mean, I imagine for a lot of folks, this is like maybe the most in-depth look they've seen at the true spaghetti of a giant blueprint like this. And if it looks crazy complicated, it's because it is. But often you might be like, oh my God, is this how complicated everything is? Well, a lot of things are quite complicated, but like Andrew was saying, this is like a
One
huge
of the
part
more
of.
complicated.
Yeah, it's like water is brutal for a reason. Sea of Thieves, like Andrew was saying, I think it was like 4 graphics engineers for like 2 years or something like that, who worked on problems kind of exclusively like this for that whole period, which is like an insane investment. Unless you're, Rare, like a 20-year-old studio owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, their whole tech team was incredible. From their water to their clouds, they knocked it out of the park with all their environment stuff.
They truly did. Mr. Miko says, is there a different thickness of water? Like beach sand seems damp compared to the rest of the ocean, and then it reflects the structures around it.
Yeah. So for the most part, it's smoke and mirrors. So the water surface takes care of a lot of the reflections from clouds and objects in the distance. You notice, the hand here casts. It's not even really a shadow, but it reflects as the water bounces off, or the light bounces off the water. It will reflect back at you, and it gives us this nice connection to the water. These little islands and things. But the actual water line here is the water isn't actually doing this. We have in this landscape, which is a whole nother talk that Kyle and I could go for hours on. But what we essentially do is find the height of the water in the world and just make it look a little shinier right there at the water line. And there are much more advanced versions of this where you can actually have the waves rolling up and it'll actually find the intersection in a render target or something and blend that roughness is what it is. It makes things look shiny and dry up and down the beach based on the height of the water. We're not doing that. We're trying to keep things as affordable as possible. So as complicated as this water looks, and in some ways it's really nothing compared to what a lot of other people have done out there. Maybe not for games, but there's some really incredible stuff that can be done that I'm sure will be real-time playable in future games, but which is very exciting. But for the most part, we're keeping things relatively simple, but making it at least look more natural by adding these kinds of like wet areas on the beach in the sand. I hope that answers your question.
That's a great answer. Yeah, let's take a look underwater, huh?
All right, let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
So I guess we can go back to the Miro for a second. I don't know,
okay.
I can pull the Miro over to my screen.
No, I got it. Oh, that works. No, that's good. Yeah, do that. That's way easier.
All right, there we go. Yeah. So the other half of water is what's under the water. So below the waterline. Below the waterline is an entirely different challenge. The goal here, no surprise, was to make it visually appealing and immersive. From a gameplay perspective, We also needed to clearly communicate the presence of enemies, interactables, and distant objects. So it's the balance between the aesthetic and the function of it. The water needs to function, as a gameplay space as well. And in some cases, it may look really good, but you may not be able to see through how murky the water is, or um, you know, and any number of things could make the gameplay space less effective on the game design side. So on top of that, the water environment reacts to light in a completely different way than the surface does. That's where the underwater post-process material comes in, which deals with light in a different way. It diffuses as you get into the water. The material is thicker, so the light actually diffuses and spreads out a lot more. So we need to get something that feels that way. That's where our fogging effects and our having the post-process effect deal with time of day is something that we had to spend a lot of time on. Additionally, it's all about fantasy as well. This immersion, this like, what does it feel like to be in water, and like, what is that ideal vision people have in their head? And for me, it was when I go underwater, if I had goggles on, you see the light dancing, the little light rays dancing around. So we have that in our post process where we've got these nice little god rays that pop through to kind of give it that tropical feeling. We also make sure that only happens when you yourself are at the surface, because that actually dies off as you get deeper into the water. So that diffuses and becomes less prominent as you dive deeper underwater. We also wanted the surface looking up to feel natural. There's also that when you look up, the sun just is like creating this pattern, this very like iconic pattern underneath the ocean that we want to try and get as close to that as we can, to get that like looking back up. That, especially when you got your boat above you and there's like a snapper over here and a stalker over here, there's this sense of needing to surface, and knowing where up is very valuable on top of that fantasy, which I think is something we were really aiming for. But the fogging effect was something that we also wanted to use as a gameplay tool. Being able to see silhouettes out on the horizon when you're underwater is really valuable. You need to know where the enemies are and where friends are, where just regular critters are, things that are gatherable, points of interest, all that kind of stuff. So having this fogging effect be a little bit brighter in the distance allows us to silhouette our enemies in anything in a really nice way, to kind of help signal where stuff may be that you're looking for.
Actually, it's a really good
so
question related to that, Andrew, if I can take a moment to chime in at that part. So Kaiju Kittens posted, water like visibility can be challenging from an accessibility standpoint, especially for different people. Will there be an option to adjust any fog or bubbles for players that may have trouble seeing?
See why we wouldn't be able to do that. It's just, I can show you in the material. It's a really simple parameter that we can reduce and increase fog values. We might even, I think that's definitely something we could do. We might give you some presets, or just, it depends on really where we land on how flexible we want that to be. But we do have the ability to do that, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. We don't want you guys to be suffering.
Awesome. I think that was the only question that came up, but I thought it was really timely with the fog combo.
Cool. Yeah. So we can actually look at what happens when you go underwater. So the moment our foliage is not spawning, but that's fine. So as you can see, we've got these nice light rays. They actually map. The fun part about this is these light rays are actually projected right on the screen, but we use a depth effect that allows it to act like it's in the distance. So this is all smoke and mirrors. I'm showing you the secrets of the magic trick here, but it's pretty convincing, and I'm quite happy with with the overall effect. We also have this caustics are also a big part of that fantasy of being underwater, seeing the light reflecting and being diffused and refracted under the surface. This is built into actually built into the materials that these rocks are, rather than actually trying to simulate the way light works. We just have this texture panning across the surface of these objects to make it feel like the light is actually passing through the water and hitting these things. So yeah. Another thing that I wanted to show is the day-night. Had to do a fair amount of work because at night what would happen is we don't want it to be like we want it to be immersive. We want it to feel natural. And what was happening at one point was that at night the water would be very, very bright, and I think it was easy to navigate through, but there was something missing about the experience. So we had to spend a little bit of time making sure that the post process would react and feel like when you come up from the bottom, it feels like you're in the same space, because it would feel natural maybe during the day, but then at night it would almost feel like you're in a completely different area. So we spent some time getting that dialed in, and also making sure that the sun tracks across the bottom of the water as well, where the sun would be, because what it also used to do is, this is all smoke and mirrors as well. The sun would just stick right here at the top of the water, so we have to do a little bit of calculation to get the effect that the sun is traveling across the bottom of this and spreading out. As the sun gets higher, this gets bigger, and as it goes down, it gets smaller. Yeah. So yeah, that's some of the thinking behind it, at least. And this waterline material is also a big challenge. But here's where we're basically creating this sense of volume in the water here for creating the God ray effect. If I go into here and I do this, I can actually move the God rays around. So you can see how it's actually just smoke and mirrors. But we have it kind of a value dialed in to make it feel like it is actually on the surface and not this kind of projected value. What else? We've also, the refraction underwater is actually built into the surface, but it's using a node called two-sided sign. It allows you to separate one side of a mesh from the other side of a mesh, because essentially this water is just a flat plane, but we're panning a bunch of textures over it that move vertices up and down to make it look like water, and effectively adding values and parameters and functions to the underside of this to make it refract a little bit differently, to make sure that we have this nice hot spot where the sun is, all that kind of stuff. So we can separate, we literally are separating the surface from underwater, and finding, we have ways to make sure that we can apply certain data to different parts of the water based on what we think it needs to do. The other thing that this does, which I'm still working on, it's not absolutely perfect, but one thing is when the water actually passes, it's really tough to get. But you can see there's a little bit of a water line that passes in front of the camera, and it follows the height of the water. That's to kind of keep it from being this really harsh. You can see kind of an aliased edge that'll pass in front of the camera from time to time. So it kind of gives it almost like there's a lens in the water, and the water's up against the lens, and it goes up and down with the water. So that's also done in this post-process effect. And then also, like I mentioned, we can affect the fog amount. We can make it worse, or we can make it better, which this value will allow us to add whatever functionality we may need to help you guys out if you're looking for more visibility, less visibility. I don't know why you'd want less visibility, but hey, we're here to provide.
Some people want to be hardcore.
if you're hardcore, more power to you.
Extra polluted, Nera.
Oh my god,
Yes.
no.
But you also notice there's a fog amount at night, so we actually give you control over how much fog you notice at night as opposed to during the day. Which again, we can just give you these parameters and allow you to affect that as your heart desires.
Melody Rose asks, as an artist, do you actually sign into the game and play underwater for testing purposes?
I I spend a lot of time doing this. just this right here. I spent maybe 3 days right here, tweaking values, jumping in and out of the material, adding functions. And also, any technical artist out there is probably looking at this like, this guy does not know how to organize his materials. And for the most part, it's true. But this is the way my brain has functioned. At some point, if I were to ever release my own stuff, I promise I would organize it and make it pretty for everybody. But it's funny, when you are prototyping, you're not worried about organization. A lot of times it's like copy and paste this piece of logic, plug it in here, and then look up and just hope that it gives you what you want. Then you tweak a few values in here. And so it's a lot of back and forth between working in the material itself, what does it look like in the viewport, and then tweaking the values based on what you feel like looks best. It's really just down to what your gut feels.
We'll can clean it
so
up before the GDC talk.
Yeah.
There's one good
Yeah.
note too, actually, that so this viewport actually, so Melody, I think this would help answer your question too. It is actually a simulation of like the real game, to some
Mhm.
degree. There's no like enemies don't know necessarily always spawn here or things like that, but it is actually like fully simulating what it would look like if you were in the game. And then there's like a little green arrow you can see at the top of Andrew's screen too, which is actually like a play button. So in the development tools, you can actually like play the real game and like launch your camera into that spot directly too. So we definitely do, I think, a lot of mix of looking actually in the like the viewport, which is kind of like the simulation of it, as well as like we call it play in editor, which is that big green button, and then team play testing too.
Yeah, still, even the team play testing is like 4 or 5 times a week sometimes.
Yeah.
But also, like maybe this is, I hope this is coming through of just like, Andrew's referring to it as smoke and mirrors, but it's kind of like nothing is for free. Everything is manually thought of and conceived of and planned out and constructed. And the water is the culmination of Andrew working on this for like forever to piece it together piece by piece. In a very complicated piece of software.
I think it's all communication. It's how close can you get to the real thing without spending all the time in the world to make it the real thing. It's how convincing can we make it while achieving a lot of the goals, both on the gameplay side and the art side. And it's really just a lot of it's exploration and saying that's good enough. And just hoping. I can't tell you how much it has made me happy to hear y'all enjoy the water, because that was my biggest goal of all was to make it fun and enjoyable to be in. And I'm glad that for the most part it seems to be something y'all are enjoying. That means a lot to me.
Aw. Does someone ask, do your eyes hurt after looking at this for so long?
No, it's like I'm at the beach.
At the beach, no sunburns.
I wear goggles just for immersion.
That would be so funny. Let's show up to a meeting like with a huge like diver goggle.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
You can see the lines on the face.
There were some other questions too that are pretty fun from earlier in the chat. Any plans to introduce a sea kraken into the game?
I mean, nothing would make me happier. I would love that. Another fun thing that I'm sure some of you have discovered. I need to find a really deep part of the ocean. Okay, so another fun thing is, as you go deeper, things get a little creepier. All the way down to you are now in another realm. And someday, what I would love to do is if you are swimming along here, you see things squiggling around way down deep, because there is a force that is trying to take over Nera, and I want that to always be apparent to players. So that's why I've built in this. If you go deep enough, you start to get pretty close to their realm.
Well, one day, future biome desires to take the fight to them.
Take the fight to
Yeah.
them. Future biome, maybe.
Oh, and sunken boats, totally. Yeah, there's lots of dope content ideas that we still have. There's
From
like
the
all
OG boat game.
Yeah, there's so many lists we have.
Buddy.
The
When it
sunken-
comes to building, will you guys be able to allow the camera to rest a bit closer over the character's shoulder? It would help a lot in placing and lining up things. So it's not technically a water question, but it was one of the questions in the chat. I could probably take this one. We do really want to revisit the building camera. Actually, generally, there's definitely a couple of like quirks with it. I think that make it a little difficult. Like you probably noticed when you angle the camera too close to like you're trying to look up and it kind of like hits the grass and it like blocks your camera. Or sometimes the water actually is another place where that can kind of happen to you too. Sometimes you kind of clip into the character or like really just wish you could move your character's fucking head so you could like see through it and just place this like one thing you're trying to line up. So we know it can be pretty frustrating. So that's definitely something we want to improve. We don't know exactly how we're gonna like tackle it yet because there's some like really small improvements that we think we could make that would kind of reduce clipping and kind of like let it be more reliable. There's also like really big changes like we could make that are like kind of like that other games typically do, like let you fly into like first person mode and like what does that mean. So I think we're still trying to figure out what makes sense for us, but we definitely want to revisit the camera and have plans too.
Real quick, Espanta and Mary Monica, thank you for the follows. Missed that earlier. What? Don't know what this means. What'd you say? Oh, tombstones. I see.
Oh yes, there's a lot of lost. That'll just be the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle down there.
Yeah.
Just everything that was ever lost shows up down there.
If you take the underwater bubble spirit ability, though, you can probably get further down there than you could otherwise for at least a little longer.
Yeah.
Let's zoom out to general questions in our last couple of minutes. Also, thank you, Andrew, for the deep dive into water everything. It's really, really cool. I see another couple of questions. Speaking of clipping, are there plans to decrease clipping from the boat?
I think if this means camera clipping from the boat, I don't think we have any like firm plans right now, because we weren't perceiving it as a huge problem. So if there is like a really big problem that you're facing there, definitely please post it in the Discord because it would help us to know kind of exactly what you're experiencing. I know there are some times where your camera can like clip the sail and some other stuff, and yeah, I think we would definitely want to reduce that if we could. But not currently like on our to-do list, so to speak. So definitely if you're feeling really strongly about that, please post in Discord. Oh, the boat actually clips to the building. That's what you meant. That's a good question. Also not quite on our to-do list, but it's definitely clearly a very obvious bug. So we should fix it at some point. It is pretty funny to just like sail your boat through your entire base. So definitely we'll get to it someday. I don't think it's super high on our list right now, just in all things that like cause issues, Are there any plans to simulate a water tsunami in game? Maybe tie it to an epic event. This is one you could take, Andrew.
That is one I could take. The word simulation scares the shit out of me. But a version of, I think storms are something that I've already done a little bit of work on. And I think something that we are thinking a lot about. But there are no promises on tsunamis. But in the event of a storm, definitely batten down the hatches.
Awesome. Speaking on the boat, will we get to place chests or workbenches on the boat at some point? We're trying to discuss what this is going to look like, but we're definitely really, really, really interested in being able to offer like boat upgrades and progression for your boat, and even being able to ideally like kind of have like loadouts almost that you could like, you could kind of like trick your boat out basically with how you kind of want to, or like how you either typically want to play, or if you're going out for a specific kind of objective, you're like, oh, I'm going fishing, so I need to put the fishing net on my boat and like the expanded inventory or something like that. So we would really love to do that. We're trying to figure out, could you actually free build on the boat? We think probably not. It's one of those things that hopefully, kind of like Andrew's mentioning with smoke and mirrors a little bit. Sometimes with features, you kind of want to figure out the most cost-effective way to get what people want, but it's not always like some of the most obvious things. Free building on the boat is a pretty complicated technical space. But like using something like the building system and how we have those like sockets to maybe socket upgrades onto the boat might be a way to do that. Or being able to bring back a system like maybe like assigning a spirit to your boat and they expand it in some way or something like that. I think we're really interested in it, but we're trying to figure out what that's going to look like. Probably it'll be post early access. So hopefully we'll have some really cool patches coming up.
We've definitely seen the videos of people building the repair station or
So
whatever
sad.
on it, and then the boat just goes away, leaving it in the air. So
I do think we at least want to add an error message that you can't build on the boat, because it's always so sad to watch people have that happen.
But yeah, the desire for it is really clear, so that's helpful actually. Also, Miss Tia Winters, welcome.
Oh,
sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, we've talked a lot about building on the boats. So I know that there are people thinking a lot about how to solve that problem for y'all. I'll just say that.
Yes.
So it's always back to the same thing, which is a lot of cool ideas, not enough time, only so much time, even with the extra time from moving from August 5th to September 16th. Dude, like that time goes up into smoke. Like it's all committed and utilized so quick. And there's always more stuff to do that we have time for. Misty Winters, thank you also for the follow.
There's one other question I might want to get to that I think is pretty fun. So scuba gear or some sort of gear, maybe I'm interpreting a little bit because I think I can't read it verbatim, but is that some sort of option that we would be interested in providing, or does that kind of conflict with how we see people spending time under the water? I have some thoughts on this, Andrew. I don't know if you have some thoughts on it.
Yeah, I do. I think we want I think the fantasy, I will just speak on the thematic and creative side, is you as an Echo are learning this world, and as you go through the world and you gain knowledge, unlock spirits, collect power, you yourself are becoming empowered and are able to deal with the challenges like deep diving and sailing through the sky and dealing with the elements. We want players to feel like they are the source of that power rather than necessarily like a suit of armor or something, even though we do have armor. But I think the real power there is your use of it rather than necessarily you need these things. In a lot of other survival crafting games, it's like what's the stuff that you put on your character that empowers you. But I think like even down to our elder spirit abilities, where you can skim across the ocean, you are empowered. You are becoming this protector and gaining power yourself. So we want to make sure that that's always true. So if you're diving deeper because of your success, saving something or achieving a thing, and we will give you a power that you can harness for yourself rather than say scuba gear. I think that's a goal on the thematic side, is that you always feel like you are the source of your power.
Yeah, and then one thing to just add on to that too, is that definitely I think some of the ways that we also want to give players opportunities to like prepare and like kind of go out for an excursion like that, especially in regard to diving, are a little lacking right now. And we have content, maybe actually I don't know if it's in the upcoming playtest or if it's or in the live playtest or in an upcoming one, but we do plan to kind of explore like consumables and like other like things that you could like, if you have a really explicit like goal, right? You can like be like, I want to go on a diving journey. I want to go collect all the glowstone. You can like maybe craft a potion if you've like progressed far enough, or you can kind of like be able to craft your way into some ways to like kind of mount an expedition like that. So that's definitely some stuff that we're going to be adding. But yeah, I think we had before a power that was kind of like a full scuba, like infinite oxygen, and I think that just kind of trivialized the game mechanics a little too much. I think it took a lot of like the stakes out of like diving, so we probably won't ever go, I think, fully back to that world. Maybe server setting eventually, because if people really want to do that, I would love for people to experience the game the way we like think it is most fun. But that's not going to be fun for everybody too. So I don't think we're, maybe never going to like let you tweak that either. We probably have time. Well, we're a little over, so maybe just like one last question.
Okay, last question.
Last question from James and Michelle. At the point of release, how long is the game content? Ballpark, of course. I think I can also answer this. Michael, you could also answer it if you want.
Sure. Either way. Go for it.
So we plan to have 3 biomes. I think, as most people probably know a little bit too from hanging in some of the dev streams. The third of which is in testing right now. It's a little like non-linear, but we do expect probably, the first biome to maybe have about 5 hours of content as it kind of like propels you into the rest of the world. And then for each biome itself, depending on, some people can definitely speed run or not finish all the content. So it's a little hard to gauge what like the lower end of that might be for some of the people who really just like to like prog and not take a lot of time to see the sites or collect everything. But we anticipate between like 10 to 15 hours of gameplay per biome or so, and maybe less if you're one of those people that really just likes to grind and speedrun. So I would think that will be ballpark about 30 hours of gameplay for the early access, and then we do plan to add more biomes over the early access period. So hopefully getting closer to like 45, 50 hours. That's it.
Yeah. And then Grace, this is from a mix in-person showcase, one of the few in-person shows that we've been part of. We got to keep some art. Our new splash in poster form. Thank you, Mitch.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. Slowly building up the wall, planning more stuff before here and launch. But thank you guys so much for joining us and taking the look under the hood for how water works, because I think, this is kind of the fun for us of here's this thing in game that you guys have really enjoyed, and like all the work that goes into it and sort of completing the circle there. If you guys aren't part of the playtest or haven't checked out the build yet, totally do that. There's a ton of cool new stuff in there right now. It's also it's still in a temp state, a lot of it, but less temp than last playtest. So if you're holding off, then now is a great time to jump in, and we would love the feedback. So please use the survey. We're in Discord, as you guys know. We're just in there all the time. So hit us up if you got any thoughts. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody.
All right, have a good one, y'all.
Catch you next time.